Hello, I'm Tim Layton from Sloan Water Technology, and I'm going to talk you through some of the options we looked at for making homemade masks when this pandemic started. So you'll see a lot of masks like this. This is the basic surgical mask. It's got a metal strip here to fit tightly around the nose, because one of the big hazards is air coming in or out around the sides of the around the mask. Now this is the most basic level mask. The next level up would be the type 2R water resistant mask. That's used for general clinical situations with COVID patients. And then the next mask up from that is the FFP3, which is the full face protector, and that requires individual fitting to give a really nice airtight seal. Again, because it's important to stop the leakage around the sides, and that's for aerosol generating procedures with COVID patients, extubation, suction cleaning of airways. Now, these are hard to come by at the start of the pandemic. It'll probably get a lot easier as production ramps up, but they're not easy to get by. So it's possible to see things that look like this. So you might take a piece of tissue or kitchen roll, fold it in a very simple manner, get a rubber band around this end and staple it down, rubber band around this end and staple it down, and you have something that looks like a mask and defolds at the front like this, but it is not the same as one of these. This will come with British standards, international standards for what it filters. This doesn't. There are other homemade options for masks. We talked about bandanas, there's socks, pillowcases, wool, and you can see from this wool one of the problems is that the pore size. You've got a pore size there of several millimeters. Now the virus is small, it's about 1,000 times thinner than the average human hair, and so it can pass through pores. Fortunately for us, it really in nature never exists just as a virus floating in air. It's surrounded by a kind of globby goop of respiratory juices, the kind of gunk you get, the liquid you get in your nose and your throat, and that helps the masks to filter. But these masks like this are not designed to be reusable. They filter by having small pores, and if you wash them, the material degrades and the pore gets clogged up. Just as a quick science aside, some masks, the minority, a small number of masks, also work by electrostatics. So they'll you take a balloon and you rub it with that bit of wool I was using for. I apologise for the noise, and then possibly we might see some attraction towards the hair on top of my head. Let's try again. There we go. It follows the hair without touching it. And if we just wash this, for example, we kill off that effect. Dip it in some water. There's no effect. So that's a little science aside. Now most masks don't work like that, but some do. Now when the pandemic started, we had a lot of these masks. They're general purpose machinists, engineering tech. They're not medical masks, and they've got these two nice big carbon filters here, which filter in on the in-breath. The nice thing about these is they'll last for a month. So unlike these paper masks, they're much more long-living, and they fit tightly around here. The disadvantage is these aren't medical. They don't filter on the out-breath. Now a mask, an ordinary mask, protects you on the in-breath, but protects your neighbour on the out-breath in case you're infected and are passing it on to them without even symptoms. This has no filter on the out-breath. You see it's got just a hole here with a valve on, and when you breathe out there's just no filter, and it comes straight out of here. Like that. So what we thought is there a way of filtering on the out-breath so that in the early days of the pandemic, if this is the mask that you can get hold of, we can at least protect your neighbour and protect the room outside from getting infected if you yourself are. There are various options. You could buy one of these, put it on the front there to filter on the out-breath, but these filters are hard to come by at the start of the pandemic, and it would make the front heavy and there'd be difficulties fitting them in. You could close off you could reverse one of these valves and close off the center one, so you breathe in on the in breath through one, out on the out breath, but in fact that requires quite a bit of suction. If you're not feeling well, you can't do it. So I had a word with Carl, our health and safety officer and mechanical technician at Sloan Water Technologies, and I said to him, is there a way we can build something? So we knocked around a few ideas, and I'm going to hand over to him now to discuss those ideas.
Hi, I'm Carl. I work for Tim at Sloan Water Technology. I am the mechanical technician and health and safety officer. I've been in contact with Tim regarding our breathing masks as part of the duties of health and safety to find a way that we can stop our breath being expelled to atmosphere. So the mask that we have is a JSP mask. It's a disposable mask. It's supposed to last for 28 days. So on this mask, you've got two canisters. You've got a carbon filter and a particulate filter. Then you've got this here. This here is the outspout. So basically your breath breathes out to atmosphere. So the first idea I had was to use this. Now this is your standard coffee filter. It's just a filter paper, but it's got small particulate holes, so the porosity of this is very, very small. So I used a screwdriver and levered the shield off. Now that's the shield. This grey area you can see here is actually the valve. So when you put it on, you can see that that valve actually moves and your breath comes out to atmosphere. So for the first simple idea was just to put filter material in between and snap it back in so that you've got your filter trapped between the shield. So your breath can't actually come out, it's trapped by the filter. That's alright, it works. But then I thought, could we do it better? So these are supposed to not come off, and I had to break it to get it off. Now when I broke it to get it off, there's actually the valve at the bottom, which is actually inside the mask, and it's screwed, and then what they've done is they've actually superglued or Loctited this barrel into the screw thread. That's how they mean it's not not changeable. So what I did was I cleaned it up and I said superglued the valve to the bottom of the canister, and then the valve to the mask with superglue. Now inside, I don't know if you can see, if I can lift that up, you've now got the mask itself with a hole. So you've now got this canister to breathe in, this canister to breathe out, and that is a secondary breathe out. It can either be blanked off or left. So when you breathe through it, it works. Now the only problem with this I found was it's very, very heavy breathing. It's not so easy to expel your breath. And it's a bit more laboured when you're trying to breathe in as well. So if you've got symptoms of COVID or you have it when you're breathing, it's not going to work very well. You're going to be very, very tired, and it's going to make it a lot harder. So that's when I took to designing. So I went back to the drawing board and just thought, right, we've got attributes on that mask that we can utilise. So I took the grey shield and I created this item. Now this item is a push fit directly onto the grey shield. I'll come to in a minute. So in this design, if you can see, I've got multiple height grooves at 2mm increments, and then what I've actually made is two snap-in rings. So I've got one at the bottom So I can put that wherever I want on that ring setup, in any of the grooves, so long as it allows you to put some filter material in. So I've gone all the way to the bottom with this one, like so. Then what I've done is I've made a spacer. Now this spacer serves two functions. It allows you to use that as a template to cut round any material you use as a filter. I've found some proper filter material, some proper HEPA filter material, which I've just cut round and with a pair, well, drawn round, cut round with a pair of scissors, which then can sit on that first snap-in ring, like so. This spacer ring then sits on top, and the second snap-in ring then retains everything. So you've got, as you can see in there, you've got your first ring, your HEPA filter, your spacer and your snap ring. Now that is ready to then pop on to the front of the mask, like so. So that I can shake that around. It's quite nice because it's a push fit, it's going to stay on. Now what I found with this was I can see it, the filter's working, it's moving backwards and forwards. The thing with that style is it's much easier to breathe, it's changeable, and you can use any material. And the way it's been designed is that you can use any material of a thickness between 1.3mm up to 20mm, and then snap it in place. You can change it regularly. Just buying some of this is relatively inexpensive. You could stack multiples of these. It's really how you like. Now, the other mask that we have at Sloan Water is this mask. It's a fully incorporated mask. These are then generally used for paint spraying. You've got the same again, a carbon filter and a particulate filter. The thing with these masks is on the front you've got a flap that folds down. Now you can put a filter in here. You can either buy them from the manufacturer if you can get hold of them, or you can do what I've done and just buy some filter material, sit it in, and it seals this from the out breath, so then you've got a nice filter and it's not expelling to atmosphere. It's worth looking at your mask and seeing what attributes you can utilise, how you can do it. Some of you won't have the luxury of a 3D printer. I'm going to get Tim to put the design that I've done on the website so you can use it. Hopefully it works for you. And yeah, I mean, just stay safe. Thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful.
Okay, thank you, Carl, very much for that. So again, these are not British standard or international standard certified. They're not medical devices. This is simply an explanation of the kind of things you might consider at the start of a pandemic, when consumables and supplies are very hard to get, and you're looking at what you have around you, and this brings into the arena of protection, protecting your neighbour, a lot of builders' masks, machinists' masks, which otherwise give your neighbour no protection. We're going to post the CAD files on the website, and thank you for watching.